Hello, it's me, Vicky Marie, and this is one of my true crime videos. So, if you're not interested in true crime and all you really want to do is either learn Spanish or English, this video is not for you. However, especially if you're learning English, you may find it interesting for a listening exercise. Okay, so how often, especially you ladies out there, girls and ladies, how often have you gone for coffee with your friends? If you're like me, having coffee with your friends, especially during a shopping trip, is one of the pleasures of life. And I think a lot of ladies, a lot of girls, a lot of women feel like this. Men, maybe not so much. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. If you're a man and you like going for coffee with your friends on a shopping trip, let me know and I stand corrected. But I do think it's more of a thing perhaps that ladies do. Now, I'm just warning you now, if that is a pleasure that you have and you want to always think of it as a pleasure and never think of it in the way that this story transpires, it's probably not a good idea to watch this video. I think that's why, for me, it's because I enjoy that so much. Not necessarily a coffee, maybe a glass of wine when we go for a shopping trip, certainly at the end. But yeah, going for coffee with your shopping, showing each other what you've bought, etc. You know, this is something that we do enjoy doing, I think. For this reason, this particular case just intrigues me so much, even more. Firstly, because of that, because I think it's very, very sad and tragic that such a common event, a happy event, a sort of, it's one of those gentle pleasures that we have. It's nothing really exciting, but it's just something that's enjoyable that we can now do again after, of course, for such a long time we couldn't do it. Should end in such a tragedy for one particular girl. And the other thing that intrigues me now, any of us, any women, I think will know that there are friends who are jealous of things that you do or achieve, or, unfortunately this does happen, but it doesn't generally lead to the severity. Your friends might get a bit sort of bitchy about things, or they might make comments, and you just know that really they're a little bit envious. Again, this is something that totally mystifies me because I don't feel envy. There's a lot of things that I do wrong, but one thing I don't ever feel is envy of people, because I'm happy when people do well and are happy when my friends are happy. That's the most important thing to me, but I know that that's not the case for all people, unfortunately. And this really is the crux of this case. So we're talking about three best friends who met up for coffee one day in a cafeteria in Jakarta in Indonesia. Met up for a coffee, and one of these girls did not leave alive, did not survive this coffee trip. So we're talking about the murder of Wayan Mirna Salihin. Now, I'm very sorry if I've pronounced that wrongly. It's quite likely that I have. But she was Indonesian and beautiful. A beautiful girl, intelligent, a fabulous future in front of her. She'd recently got married. Her husband has recently, her ex-husband, a widow, I suppose we'd say, has recently said that they were going to start to try a family. So she had the whole world at her feet. She was happy. And looking forward to what should have been a fantastic future. But unfortunately, one of her friends, one of her best friends, had something else in mind for her. So, as I say, this lady was called Wayan Mirna Salihin. And I'm going to put some pictures through this video so that you can see how beautiful she was. So, this tragic incident took place on the 6th of January, the year 2016. And Mirna drank a Vietnamese iced coffee in the Olivia Cafe in the Grand Indonesia shopping mall in Jakarta. She went in there, met up with her friend who offered her this coffee. She took one drink from one swallow, literally, from this coffee. And she then, you can see on the CCTV, instantly, practically instantly, became very uncomfortable, was making gestures like this. Then her head fell back, and literally she went into convulsions and subsequently died on the way to the hospital. So what happened to her? I mean, at first it was thought, she'd had some sort of seizure. There was no foul play suspected in the first instance. But her best friend, who had bought her the coffee, and her name was Jessica, or it still is because she is still alive, Jessica Kumala Wongso is her name. She had bought this coffee quite a long time earlier, before she met up with the other two girls in the cafeteria. She had arrived very early with several shopping bags, so she'd obviously gone off and maybe they'd separated, done their own bit of shopping, or maybe this was the first time they'd met up that day. I'm not actually sure. But luckily, I say luckily, it didn't unfortunately bring Mirna back, but the manager of the coffee store, of the cafeteria, kept hold of the coffee, did not throw it away. And when this coffee was later analysed, it was laced with cyanide. So what had happened? Where had the cyanide come from? So subsequent examination of CCTV showed Jessica arriving maybe an hour earlier than the other two girls, ordering this coffee and then going to sit down at a table. She then put her shopping bags on the table to cover up the coffee cup, so you couldn't see the cup of coffee. But it was like it was a deliberate attempt to block the CCTV from seeing what she was doing, if anything, with this coffee. Now, unfortunately, because initially there was no reason for suspicion, she had not been searched, her bags had not been searched to see what was in them. But later, the CCTV was checked later when it was found that the coffee cup was laced with cyanide, because how had the cyanide got there? And if it was her who put it in, why? Apparently, a while earlier to this horrible event, Mirna had, how can I put it, had recommended to Jessica that she should finish the relationship she had with her Australian boyfriend of the time. And Jessica had done this. So I don't really know the whole ins and outs of why Mirna would recommend that to Jessica. Why, if Jessica really didn't want to do it, why she would have gone ahead and done it? Because really, I'm not being funny, but quite often your friends might say not like your boyfriend, but really you, and they might be right. But at the end of the day, it's always you that makes the decision whether to finish with them or not. You can't blame that on the other person. If your friend recommends you terminate the relationship with your boyfriend, you either do it or you don't, but you can't blame your friend for that. But anyway, this is what's surmised, because to this day, Jessica still has not confessed to this murder. She proclaims her innocence. However, There's an excellent documentary on 60 Minutes Australia about this case, and it has all the ins and outs, all the CCTV. I will be putting a few little videos here and there and photos, but I'm not good enough to making videos yet to be able to make the sort of video that they can make. It is 60 Minutes Australia. If I remember, I'll put the link in the description box. It's a must watch because it is just, I mean, it's a tragic case, but it is fascinating. Because can you imagine, even if you were jealous of your best friend, or you were angry at her because there's something she'd done to, I don't know, jeopardize your relationship with your boyfriend, can you really imagine putting cyanide in her coffee? A coffee shop as well, in you know, I suppose she did it in a public place because she thought she had more chance of getting away with it that way. I really don't know. I don't think you can put your mind put yourself in the place of someone like that, because it's quite inconceivable behaviour. Personally, I wanted to talk about this case for the interest of it, obviously, but also because it's a woman, because it's quite unusual, I think. You know, we used to sort of always think murderers are men, and you know, and to be honest, they normally are. But this is, like, you know, a really unusual case. And also the behaviour of this girl later, when you see the videos of how she behaved, it's like just not taking it seriously in any way. Um, let's have a look at the CCTV. It's not CCTV. Let's have a look at some footage of Jessica and how she behaved after this event. Now, Jessica has been found guilty and she has been sentenced to 20 years in prison, though she was lucky to escape execution because she could have had to have a firing squad, have had to be put to death by the firing squad. That was a possibility. There's still a lot of controversy. Jessica is, of course, protesting her innocence. Apparently, another reason why she supposedly was so jealous of her friend and angry with her friend, apart from the fact of splitting up with her boyfriend, she hadn't invited her she hadn't been invited to the girl's wedding. So she was really angry about that, apparently. So, whatever you believe, you know, there's likely to be an appeal. I don't think this is the end of this case. It's very difficult because there's no direct evidence of actually, because if she had did it on purpose, done it on purpose, because she hid the coffee cup with the bags. Nobody sees her putting anything in the cup. Because Mirna was not given an autopsy immediately. By the time she was actually given an autopsy, there was only traces of cyanide left in her throat, not in her main tissues, etc. But you know, I don't know, because I'm not a scientist, so I don't know why was there any cyanide in there. Well, to me, if there was any cyanide whatsoever in her body, how could it have got there? Even if it was just not as much as perhaps they might have expected, how on earth could it have got there? So I think you've got to think there's something, and watching the CCTV, it definitely does look quite strange the way she puts the bags in front of the cup. Other people, there's other sort of doubts cast because people say that she arrived early, because she didn't actually arrive early. Jessica didn't actually arrive early. They were all supposed to meet at that time with the other two girls that arrived late. So if they would have all arrived on time, she wouldn't have had time to do that. So I just don't know. I actually don't know. The thing that seems to me that she probably is guilty is her behaviour, because her behaviour was really strange. Her behaviour after it all happened um, was just odd, or maybe she just meant to make her feel ill and didn't mean to kill her. You know, maybe she just, who knows? Only she knows. Only she and her God knows the truth. All I know is it is a very tragic case. It's you know, that poor girl and her poor husband, and they had the rest of their life in front of them, and now that's all been cut short by one thing or another, either by a tragic, um, I don't know, a twist of fate. Maybe she did have a heart attack. Maybe she did have a fit. Maybe it was something totally unrelated. Though, as I say, to me, the fact that she had cyanide at all in her system suggests that something did happen. And of course now we've got a second, so there's another family now that are suffering because their daughter has been sent to prison for 20 years. So as I always say, these cases, they always leave ripples, don't they? So it's not just the victim, poor Mirna, who, if she was the victim of foul play, but then there's all the ripple of other victims, the husband, her family, the family of the perpetrator. The other friend that was there that day, I mean, she's got to live with that, seeing that happen to her friend for the rest of her life. So, yeah, it's a very interesting case. I mean, I don't know if you're interested in true crime or not. I'm presuming if you've got to this stage in the video, you are interested in true crime. For me, what's fascinating about true crime is once you start watching it or learning about these just things that happen all over the world day in, day out, that are stranger than fiction, it's very difficult to then watch fiction. I mean, you know, even really good crime dramas, etc., they're never quite as dramatic as the actual real things that people do to each other day in, day out. And you never know what somebody is thinking inside. Another case that I'd like to do quite soon, I'm not going to say what the name of it is, but it's another woman. So I'm going to do another woman the next time, because I don't want people to think that I'm just picking on men. I mean, women are capable of terrible things also, and you just never know what's happening in someone's mind. But anyway, so next time you go for a coffee with your friend, make them taste it first. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you real soon in the next video. Take care.